she is not only a badass human, but she is a badass woman that has taken not only St. Louis, but taking the entrepreneur space to another level. Her name is Emily Frisella. And listen, guys, ego and not being resourceful are two things that most people battle with, and it halts them from any kind of growth or success. And that is exactly what almost stopped Emily as well. Now, look, at the age of 21, she saved her first business and took it from $42.86 to $647,000 in just 7 months. In that time period, she experienced massive amount of failure. But through it all, led by grit and determination, she has pushed through to be a twice published author, which one book is called the Fresh Farmhouse Kitchen. The second book, which is releasing this fall, is actually called Clean Eating Chef. She's a creator of Fit Home and Health. She's a podcast co-host, founder of the Women in Business Workshop, and the COO of 44/7 Media, a business coach, a public speaker. She is a third-ranked entrepreneur that is a female in St. Louis, about to be #1. And she is here to help you create the ultimate version of yourself, give you actionable tools to be better today than you were yesterday. Emily, what is going on?
Thank you so much. That intro is so nice. I feel like I need to like slip you a 20 or something.
It's actually 50. You forgot.
Oh, shit. Prices went up.
Prices do go up. Yes. Yeah. It's inflation.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. I'm super excited to talk with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you once again for taking time out of your day. I just want to dive right in because people need to hear your story. People need to get the tools from you. So tell them who you are, give a little intro, but tell us a little bit about how you grew up and kind of where you're at today.
Yeah, I mean, well, you pretty much said exactly what I do. I don't have too much to add, but yeah, I've been an entrepreneur nearly all my life for about 17 years now. So I guess a little over half my life. I got started in it because I grew up on a farm and my dad was an entrepreneur. He owned trucking firms and brokerage agencies. So I always saw the entrepreneur lifestyle. I knew it's something that I wanted to do. And I didn't realize how hard it was because my dad did it so eloquently and flawlessly and made it seem so easy. So when you're speaking about, my $42.86, that's because I was a dumbass and didn't know what I was doing. So you learn a lot of lessons in life. But yeah, that's what got me to where I am today. I just was an entrepreneur. Then I sold my first business in my mid-20s. Went to work at a company. I worked for a graphic design firm. I was their accounting and operations manager. And I always knew that I was not made to work for someone else. Not that I'm an employee that's hard to handle. It's just, I just knew that my passion, the way that I wanted to do things, and maybe my stubbornness, I knew that there's other ways to do things a little bit better or how I would change it. And it was frustrating to me. And so I decided to, get out of that, start to build my brand on social media for the first cookbook that you mentioned. And I worked within my company for 2 years before I built my brand up to where I was able to leave full time. And now I've been doing my own thing for about 6 years now.
That's awesome. So watching your dad really do it, like you said, eloquently and really doing it to a high standard, did you see him fail? Because I think that's a lot of people, we mimic what our parents do. So did you watch your dad fail at all? Because I know you said.
No. Yeah, he didn't fail. And that's why I feel like if he failed, we never knew it. He didn't express that. So it's something where I see him get up at 5 a.m., go check the cows, feed them, do all this stuff. His office was an hour and 20 minutes one-way drive. So he was driving almost 3 hours a day to his office back and forth. And I never saw him fail. And I've, shared in a few speaking engagements that I've done before about that's part of why I know that I failed, because I didn't know what failure was, is because I grew up, and this, my story. I grew up and my parents were well known in our town. They were like the Waltons. I had a very good childhood, picture perfect. They've been married 44 years. They still act like it's their honeymoon, and they still flirt and gross me out, and I'm 37 years old and they still gross me out. But I never knew what that was, because I got the jobs that I wanted to do. I made the sports teams. I made the school, the class presidents and things. I made all those type of things, and I never knew what failure really was. So when I started my first business when I was 20 years old, I went into it thinking that I've got it handled. I know what I'm doing, but I never had failure to really ever knock me down. And I was a very good kid. I was never troublesome. I wasn't bratty, but I did have an ego when it came to that kind of thing, thinking that I knew exactly what I was doing when I didn't know anything. And I was too stubborn and I had blinders on, thinking like, well, I've never failed. I can't fail at this. And I made a lot of mistakes, in my first business, and I, mismanaged finances, inventory, my capital. I mean, I literally knew nothing. All I knew is I saw my dad do this. He gets to do what he wants. He's the boss. People depend on him. And that's what I wanted. But I never knew like the nuts and bolts that actually build a house. So, yeah.
So you never saw failure. So you probably didn't know how to react to it. There's a lot of people who are like, I'm scared shitless of failure. I've seen failure my whole life. So I think whether you've seen failure, you've never seen it, we all got to understand that it's a process of elimination. That's what failure is, right? But you not knowing what failure was, but the worst thing is when people fail, they just back down and they go back to what's safe, what's normal, and they go back to what's comfortable. And we all know that's the place people die. So you not knowing what failure was, and then it just, hit you in the face. I talk about, it led with grit and determination to get you out of it. But let's be real. Like, what are some tactical things that you did or mental shifts that you made to take what you currently had, which is a huge failure, not understanding anything about it, to get to where you're at?
Well, it really hit me. I didn't realize how big of a failure it was until I had an employee come to me. It was the day after payday, and she went to try to cash her check, and the bank said they couldn't cash the check because I was so overdrawn. And I had no idea. And this was before online banking. So you used to have to get your statements. If I don't, the demographic of your podcast, they might not realize there was a time before there was online banking, and you would just get, 20 sheets of paper at the end of the month from the bank, and it would have all your checks and everything, transactions, and you would have to match it up. And I was like, oh, I'm fine. And I wouldn't even mess with balancing my checking account. So I never really knew how much actual money I had. So, and she came to me, my employee, and said that, and I was like, oh, and I was defensive. I was embarrassed. I said, there's got to be some problem. The bank messed up. And I snatched her check up, and I went to the bank because I had 5 other full-time employees that I knew were the same situation was going to happen to. So I went to the bank and talked to them, and sure enough, I had no money. I had that, like you mentioned, the $42.86 that I'll never forget that number ever, because I remember it was like, that number will make me like feel like I need to throw up, because I felt so sick at that point. Like my heart just sunk, and I felt like such a failure. And so at the time, I just scrambled, ran to my house, got my savings deposit, like a withdrawal slip, got cash out for everybody, told all my employees that there was a mess up at the bank, and I would just have to pay them cash this week, and next week we'll be back on track with everything. I just was trying to cover my ass until I could figure out a plan. So, I had to become resourceful. I had to figure out, what can I do to get money in the bank and quick, because I have this payroll next week, and it was probably between $2,000 and $3,000 or so. I can't quite remember. So I had to get that payroll made for the next week, and I didn't have that. So what could I do? Because with my business, it was a flower shop and a luxury gift boutique at the time. And I ran it on, you could have a credit account there. So most customers would have a credit account, which meant they could buy stuff all month long, and I would bill them at the end of the month and not get the money till the next month. So I had to still keep that method with my clients or my customers, but still be able to get money in on a regular basis and not have this huge chunk of money not coming in for probably 5 or 6 weeks. Because that's how it was. It was just, I'd have no money, and then a ton, and then none, and then a ton, because everybody's paying their bills. So I decided, like, okay, what can I do to get money? And I was like, I need to figure out it was August. I'll never forget that. And I was like, okay, we got the holidays coming up. I'll do pre-orders for people. They pre-order now, they can save 10% off. I did flower arrangements for businesses and put my card on it with flowers that were going to die in a few days, just to have something on their counter, and put a note from my business that when customers would go in there and see it, they would see that, oh, Floral Boutique sent this. I would just write like, thanks for being an active member of the community. And I would do that. And I would do in-home flower decorating. I bought stuff on a credit card to rent out for weddings. Like, you see the arches and all the stuff that, like the candelabras going down the aisles, all that stuff. I rented that. I got tuxedo rentals in there. I started doing, what else was it? Oh, I did classes. Like, I could have people come in and they would do classes on how to do flower arranging, how to make their wreaths for the holidays. I did anything I could imagine to try to get some money in there and sell subscriptions. It's so funny because now there's 1-800-Flowers. I was doing that before there was even a 1-800-Flowers. I was doing subscription services for flowers, where guys or girls, they would fill out a form of who they wanted the flowers to go to and what dates, what the occasion, what the card was. They would just pay for it all for, you know, however many they needed a year. If they needed a birthday, anniversary, whatever it was, they would pay for all of it and I would take care of it. So I was doing subscription delivery services. So I just, you know, and with that, it came great success. And I would start building and exhausting my efforts every single month as to what could I do now? And I had to do it so like casual and cool because I didn't want it to seem like a panic mode. Because you got to remember, social media wasn't even a thing at this time either. So it was like phone books, it was door-to-door stuff. It was publishing things in the local like football programs and basketball programs from schools and things like that. So, but I could not put it out there in a panic mode. I had to let people think that everything was under control. Again, that was my ego. I didn't want people to think that I was failing. And I just wish, looking back now, I would have talked to my dad about it. I would have asked for some help with that because it would have helped me with my like anxiety and just like constant fear of knowing like and having another route to get out of that situation. So I worked on this whole method, that things that I mentioned just previously. And that's how I was able to build my bank account back up to the $647,000 from the $42 because I was beating the pavement so hard. Nike should have sponsored me for how many shoes I was going through. I mean, it was insane. But yeah, it's just, you have to be resourceful with anything because, you know, you're going to have these ebbs and flows of your business. And if you're not able to be resourceful and live in a state of constant resourcefulness, then you're going to have those failures. And that's something that was the biggest lesson that I learned through this big failure was I have to live every day like I don't have any money in the bank, if that makes sense, where I'm living in a way of like, what can I do now to be better? I can grow my business. I can add this feature to my business. I can do this. But you can't add more than you can keep up with, though. And that's what people also fail, is they try to overpromise and highly underdeliver, which is going to ruin your reputation and your obviously your credibility, because it only takes that one failure. People are ready to see the chink in your armor, especially with social media now. They want to see you fail. So there's a fine balance there of being resourceful, but being able to deliver at 110%, you know, that you're capable of to be able to maintain your business, to continue to grow.
I love that. So resourcefulness, people think about, oh my God, what resources do I have? Right? Like, oh, I need to find this resource. But as Emily's saying, and I've said before, it's your resourcefulness creates resources.
Yes.
The big thing, guys, if you're listening to this and not taking notes, you better start now. Because the big thing you said, you kept saying it. I asked myself, okay, what else can I do? I asked myself this. I asked myself this. Like, our quality of life is proportional to the quality of questions we ask ourselves.
Right.
And you just kept asking yourself good questions and then taking the action.
Right.
Taking the action to get it done. You and I talked off camera of like, we don't understand how people just aren't committed to just taking action and want this perfect plan. And you knew that right away after you failed that you had what you thought was a perfect plan and you bombed, right? And you bombed, and it was that.
That's an understatement.
And I think that's huge. But you also talked about ego in there, right? So, I used to be huge with ego. I'm from Jersey. I'm Italian, stubborn as shit. I think it took me to almost dying to realize I don't know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I thought I knew everything. And it took me the fear of death to really realize I don't.
Yeah.
And to you, a big business failure.
Yeah.
But I'd love to chat with you and talk about ego versus pride.
Okay.
Because I think that there's this like, people like want to be prideful, but they don't want to feel like they have an ego. They want to be confident, but then they feel like they have an ego and people look at them differently. So what are your thoughts on like pride versus ego?
Well, I think that, you know, ego is something where you think you're the shit. You think you know, and you're not willing to be open to other ideas or suggestion or criticism, where I think pride is where you take pride in what you do by working to critique it from taking action from others or advice. You know, you would be crazy not to take, you know, if someone wants to write a cookbook and they don't know how to do it, and I'm telling them, here's how to do it. Here's my publisher. Here's this person. And you don't act on that when I'm giving you the recipe. You know, that's an ego thing, you know, where you can feel like you have a good sense of pride in what you do because you know you're trying to deliver the best thing, because you're trying to take the experiences from others to create that, you know, that perfect product or that perfect service or that, you know, that perfect experience for others. Because the ego is what, you know, ego is what's going to crumble you, you know, and your ego has an expiration date and many don't realize that.
Woo! I like that. Your ego has an expiration date.
Yeah.
And that is brilliant. Brilliant. Cookbooks, you know, why a cookbook? I mean, there's so many, everybody's publishing a you know, best self, you know, publishing basically about their life or about what they went through or, you know, what they know, but you decided, I'm going to go cookbook. Why cookbook versus anything
Well,
else?
I grew up on a farm and I always loved to cook. My grandparents, my grandmas and my mom always cooked big, huge meals. We always had big home cooked meals every night. It wasn't ever like one thing. It was like fried chicken, salad, potatoes, green beans, dessert. Like it was always the full spread every night. And I was a athlete from like 7th grade and through college. I played volleyball. And then when I stopped training, you train a couple hours a day when you're playing sports. And when I got out of college, stopped training like that, I started gaining weight. I gained probably like 15 pounds or so because I was still eating like a farm girl, but not working out like I was like an athlete. So, you can't have fried chicken and biscuits and gravy and all that stuff when you're not working out. And I wanted to get healthier and lose the weight, but I wasn't really sure what or how to do that. So I was looking in the healthy cookbooks, and they all had these crazy exotic ingredients. I was like Googling or looking in the dictionary to find out what the hell it was, or you couldn't find it where I lived because I lived in a very small town where like you legitimately couldn't buy a pair of socks at. So like I wanted a book that was easy to find, affordable, stuff is easy to make. You pretty much probably already have all the ingredients in your house already, but it's just going to give you that push of like that help. So then it came down to like, well, I want to write this, or I want to create these. So I started creating all these recipes. And this is I wrote recipes for probably 5 years or so, just experimenting with them just for Andy and I, my husband, just to make healthier options. So then he was always like, damn, that's good. That's really good. That's healthy. I can't believe it, and all this stuff. And so then I was like, well, I want to write these I want to put them into a book. And he's like, yeah, you definitely need to write a cookbook. And I was working in the office, like I said, after I sold my business. And we just decided like, you know what? We decided it was over Christmas holiday. He's like, you should just quit and write your book full time. Cause it was taking a long time because I was doing it like on the nights or weekends. And if you don't feel like it or you're busy that weekend, then you don't get it. It was just a very slow process. And I said, it's definitely what I want to do. I've been because this time I'd been working for 2 years to build my brand and I was doing okay. And we decided it was time for me to just, leave my office, leave my job and start doing this full time and get the book out and start to really go full force on my brand. So that's what I did. And I just decided, the cookbook, that's what people needed, being also in the health space, the fitness industry. It was something I saw a need for. And I knew people, people that don't know how to cook or are a veteran in the kitchen, it's something that everybody can enjoy. So the first book came out. The second book is coming out in the fall. And it's just something, it was time for something different. And I know people always ask why a cookbook, because I think there's so many cookbooks out there already. But the thing was to me, it wasn't my cookbook. It wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't what I wanted to deliver. And I didn't find what I wanted. So like, just write your own, it's like you're saying, like people publishing their self-help or this, they might have an aspect of something that someone else, they're unable to absorb from any other type of source. So let's say you would tell me something and I could have 2 other guys tell me something. The delivery of each of you would be different, even though it's the same topic. So, and I'm going to resonate with one of the 3 of you differently. And that's what I'm going to connect with. So I felt like it was important for me to be able to put that out there because people might resonate more with my voice and health versus someone else that could possibly deliver the same thing, but it's just a little bit slightly different because of me.
Oh, I love that. Same message, different messenger, right?
Yes.
So poor Andy, I'm sure there were some really bad recipes you made, right? I mean, there had to be at least one that you remember where he was like, yeah, let's not put that one in there.
Yeah, I can't remember. There were 2 or 3 because I would make him at dinner and I would say, is this like, I'd say, what do you think? He's like, it's good. I'm like, is it like, what I would always say is it good or is it like book good? And he would say book good. And book good meant it was going to be for the cookbook. I did an interview years ago on a radio station and they asked they said like, well, how do you know if it's good or not? I said, well, my husband's my taste tester. Like, oh, well, he'll tell you if everything's good. I'm like, you don't know my husband. But he's always been so honest and so supportive. He'll be like, no, I don't really like it. I don't think it tastes, as good as it could, or else it's like, I just don't like the combination of spices together or whatever. And that's what I always tease. I tell people that my cookbook's husband approved because every recipe in there, he gave me the thumbs up on.
I love that. And you're right. So those of you guys do not know her husband, Andy Frisella, owns First Form Nutrition, also MFCEO Project. And when you hear his podcast, he is a no bullshit, like straight to the point, even on Instagram. Like I love watching his shit because it's like when you have that, like, I want to quit feeling, or I'm just going to take it easy feeling. You see him pop up. It's like, whoa, wait a minute.
Nobody now.
But then I meet him at Thrive and I talk to him and I'm like, you're like such a sweet guy. And I love
He's
that.
awesome. Yeah.
And I love that because first of all, he's a big man, right? He's definitely a big man physically. And you see that, and then you hear him, on the shows and everything. And, you just think he's that cutthroat guy, but then you understand that he is that way at the times he needs to be to push himself to become the person he needs to become. But deep down inside, he's a sweet, genuine dude.
Yeah, he's got such a good heart, and that's actually his heart is what leads his passion. Because a lot of people always think like, oh, what's it like to live with him? Is he like going, yeah, come on, baby, brush your teeth, blah blah, like like yelling at me like to motivate me? I'm like, no, like that's not how it is. Like he is the way he is because he cares so much about people that he gets frustrated that they're not trying to excel, and they don't like. He gets stressed because people don't want more for themselves. So who he is on his Instagram and podcast, that's who he is as a genuine person. But he expresses in a way out of frustration because he doesn't understand, like he sees things in people before they see them in himself. And it's frustrating to him that they don't open their eyes to that. And they don't want that for them. So he's like trying to drill it home. Like, look, this is what the life that you can fucking live. You just got to get it. You have the potential. Like I see it in you. Like, why are you not acting on this? And it's so like, just boggles his mind.
And then you guys kind of balance each other well, but you guys both have extreme passion, right? You guys have extreme passion. And we talked once again off air about like, you're taking over some of the roles in his business and operations or whatever it might be, the COO, all those things. He kind of said, here you go, after you volunteered.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people have an issue. Anybody listen to us right now, if you're thinking about getting in business with your partner, I think Emily's going to be able to give you some knowledge. How do you shut off work to personal life? Is there a shut off? How do you integrate it all? Because I know it no matter if it's, husband, wife, whether it's wife, husband, no matter if it's just brother, sister. I mean, there's still obviously that issue, but when you are married with somebody and you got to have those rules or guidelines in place, I'm sure it's hard. So tell us how you guys formulate a plan.
Well, we're psychotic, so we don't really, we love to work. So we don't have like a shut off. We never we're not like, let's put our phones in a basket for dinner. We just put our phones face down, you know what I mean? And we have our conversations and things like that. So, okay. So I have two different sides to this. The side before I started working with him on his brand and the side currently. So, cause I get asked a lot from people in our, groups, like, how do you do that? Or like, their wife might feel like they're disconnected, their husband feels disconnected because they're so busy in their work and they're so busy pushing and striving to be better. The thing that people need to understand is that if you're getting frustrated at someone for working and trying to excel, you nagging them or getting upset is never going to benefit you whatsoever. And that's something Andy and I have always had and always understood with each other, because we've both been in relationships prior where we had people that were on us all the time and, upset and nagging because you work so much. And that doesn't make them want to be closer to you. It makes them want to be further away from you. You're driving a wedge, and people don't think that. They think if they nag them, they're going to get what they want. Actually, you're going to drive that person away. So I also like, don't do that. Make sure you're communicating with them. If you are in a situation where you're feeling like disconnected or excluded, or you don't really know what's going on in their world work-wise when they're pushing and striving and things like that, it's important, obviously, like, the communication aspect of it, which I know is so cliche, but communication is key, I think, underneath respect. So, what I always tell people is like, I'm asking, like when someone says, hey, how was your day? They're usually not asking for small talk and to be like, just, oh, it was fine. That's not the answer they're looking for. They're asking like, how's your day? They want to know what's going on. They're trying to, because they don't know what's happening. So they can't say, how was your meeting with XYZ? Or did you get this product placement in the retail stores you're looking for? Like, they don't know what's going on in your world. So it's important for you to share that so they can actually communicate with you and have a conversation about what's going on in your world. Because when you just say, oh, my day was fine, that's why they were feeling disconnected. And that's why they're feeling like there's a wedge, because you're not realizing they're actually wanting to know what's going on in your world. That's their way of asking that. So that's what I tell them.
That's a huge distinction. I want to tell you, that's a huge distinction. I think a lot of people, there's both sides of it, right? So like the person may ask, hey, how's your day? And the person that's going to answer that doesn't want to go down that hole because maybe they're stressed, or doesn't want to go down that because, oh, she won't understand, he won't understand. So I think that's huge that you said that they're asking that question because they don't know how to ask it another way.
Right.
So it's for you to be vulnerable and just open up about it. And I think that's huge.
They don't know the specifics of what your day is. So they just want to know. But like you're saying, you know, the person that you're asking might feel stressed or tired. I don't want to talk about it. If you don't want to talk about it, say like, you know, just let me decompress for like an hour or so. And then like, I'll tell you, like, it's just been stressful. Give them something so they don't feel that way. So they can feel like there is a connection there. Because I hear that that's the most common thing that I get in Instagram DMs, in public, at speaking events. That's the most common question they ask is because like my husband or wife feels disconnected or excluded from my business, or they don't understand what I'm going through. You have to, it's a two-way street there. You know what I mean? When they ask, you have to answer. You have to realize they don't know. So they're not trying to be annoying to make you talk about it more from a stressful situation. Or they don't know that it's been a stressful day. So don't get upset with them. They want to know what's going on. So with Andy and I now currently with like working together with his brand, we don't really have a set like shut off, as we never really did, because we both have our own stuff going all the time. But ours is more of, we've gotten really good at talking about business during the day. So like, we don't talk about the podcast or me, you know, booking guests or Arte or the Otis and Charlie books. Like we don't talk about a lot of that stuff at night. We do it through the day. It might be, you know, we have meetings every week. It might be just through text message, or I might call them on something. We try to keep it within the realm of like, quote, normal business hours. So while you're in that mode, that way it's all your shit's handled during the day. Then when you get home, you might have a few little crumbs you got to take care of for business that day. But we try not to like, I don't want to like blast him with questions at night when he's already dealt with stuff, because he runs 7 different companies, you know?
Yeah.
So for us now, it's more of like, we try to handle the stuff during the day. At night, we talk about what's going on in the day, what's going on the next day. I brief him on like, okay, tomorrow you've got this, this, this. And we've never been able to really shut things off, because with him, with his companies, there's stuff all the time. You know, at 9 o'clock at night is when most of the action happens. So it could be 9 to midnight. He's busy on the phone or texting, making things, getting things set up for the next day or handling issues that arise. But for us, there's never a balance. We just try to handle as much as we can during the normal hours. So that night when we have dinner, we do enjoy dinner. We don't usually talk about work during dinner. We do just talk about ourselves, and ourselves outside of work are the dogs. It's like us mentally. We're both very much into personal growth and reading and, growing as a human, working on your awareness, your consciousness. So we talk about that kind of thing, like the deep conversations happen then.
I love that you talked about awareness. I think that's the number one habit in any person that has an abundance of love, laughter, money, fulfillment. I think it's self-awareness, and that you do it at night is super important, because a lot of people will wait too long. Yeah. Talk about wait, like not just a couple of days, but weeks, months, and then they're in this deep hole. Yeah. And that you actually do that with your husband. And I think anybody listening, your husband, your wife, your partner, they don't need to be in business with you for you to have this self-awareness conversation at the end of the day, because right. Like you said, personal development is huge. I just did a post about it. Like it never stops. It never stops. Never. And I think,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think the most important 2 hours of our day is the first when we wake up, right? The first 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I watched a video with you about prioritizing your time.
Yeah.
And becoming a top, peak performer. And I saw first off that little cube, which is pretty gnarly. That cube is awesome. I'm going to be ordering that. If you guys are watching, you guys just saw it. There's a cube that she uses to basically tell her it's 30 minutes, 15, 60 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I love that, because it's actually rings that alarm versus like you can ignore it if a calendar pops up.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go to my phone every time.
It makes you stay on track though, because it's like you got to beat the time. Like how much can I get done in 15 or 30 minutes?
It's like a game. Yes. Yeah. So what are 2 things, just say 2 things that like, if you could only do these 2 things, and I know there's more, 2 things in the morning, every single morning, what would those 2 things be?
Okay. So for me, it's, I don't look at my phone whenever I first wake up. So let me clarify that. So like we're doing a lot of construction in our house right now. So I like just check for text messages and that's it. If it's a text message I know is work related, I don't answer it. I only do like the necessary. I don't open my social media. I don't do any of that stuff. That's helped me a lot. And that's a change I made recently, probably in the last 8 months, because what was happening is you get down a rabbit hole and then all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I'm going to be late now because I was laying in bed checking up on my Instagram or my DMs or whatever it might be. So I don't do that. The second thing is I like to come into my office and I like to set, and I like to just like take in the day. I always keep my desk pretty tidy, but I like to go through things and see what my day is going to hold. I always look at my planner the night before to see what's in the morning, but then I'll go through my day and I structure my whole day out, what I'm going to do, because that way I wake up, nobody from that quote outside world has infiltrated my brain yet because I'm not looking at my phone. I can look at my planner, I can have my peace and realize like, okay, this is what my day is going to be. I mentally kind of prepare for the day, and I have visions of the day of like how it's going to run, what I'm going to do. And just that little bit of being prepared and taking the time to really soak it in helps me perform better, because I feel like I am fully aware of myself for that day, to where I'm not running around like a chicken with its head cut off.
Thank you for saying that, because I preach this nonstop. Putting the phone off, disconnecting and reconnect with your relationships at the end of the night. And then in the morning about not touching your phone for the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
But you said infiltrated your mind, all these negative and all these people coming in. I literally just saw it like people army crawling, trying to get into your brain, like trying to somehow get into your mind.
It's
and you gotta
you open up your DMs, your emails, it's immediately someone's wanting something from you, you know? And so it's like, and plus it's not a good time to do that anyway, because you're not in that mode yet. Like I don't want to open emails and people are asking me for stuff when I'm not by my computer, when I'm, away, when I'm busy trying to get laundry done for the morning, or, I don't know, whatever it might be. I don't want to have to worry about, oh, I got to make sure I do this. I want to make sure I do this. I like to sit down and, then when I'm saying like I'm planning for my day, that's when I like to go through that little stuff and knock out the little stuff when I'm well prepared to do that, in a space to do that, and not where I feel like I'm already scrambling to try to get people what they need from me.
And then you start multitasking, right? Which is a myth.
Yeah.
You can't
I just, it's like, I guess it maybe, as it comes with age, I just have started getting like super protective of my energy. Like I don't want to put out energy for people that I don't feel deserve it or need it, and that I'm in control of it, because I let it control me for a while. And I was really trying to build my brand. I was trying to be everything to everybody, and it made me burn out, where I don't even want, I didn't want to look at my phone. I didn't want to have social media. I didn't want to post. I didn't want to have to create stuff. And I realized that was ruining my creativity. It was crushing that, because I was in a constant state of giving everything that everybody else needed, instead of me tapping in and protecting my energy and keeping my reserves for me to be able to produce better content, better value, and deliver for people.
Huge. Protecting your energy. We're only made up of so much throughout the day.
Right.
And I think protecting it.
It's like a bank account. You know what I mean? You got to be able to deposit before you can spend,
Yes. And the depositors in your life and withdrawers in your life are influences, people and things. So guys listening right now, take inventory. Who's the withdrawers? What's the withdrawers? What's the depositors, right? Like figure it out and do like Emily said, protect your time.
But you also have to realize though, you need to be able to deposit to others too before you can ever withdraw as well. It's definitely a two-way street. So you need to make sure that you're protecting your energy, yet you're still making a conscious effort and aware enough to realize that you have to make deposits into other lives as well.
Yes. It's definitely a two-way street with that, right?
Yeah.
It's not an instant, but a side effect of giving is getting. Right? It's just
absolutely.
It may not be today, but it may be 5 years, 5 months, 5 minutes. And they have to realize that adding value, making a difference, and being good in the world and doing those things, the universe hears it. The universe sees it, right?
For sure.
It'll come back around.
Yeah. And if people don't believe that the universe is, that everything you put out there comes back. I mean, if you really think back and reflect on your life, you'll realize that there's a lot of things that didn't just quote happen. It's never coincidence, and people always block it off as that. But the thing is, if you're living your life, it's like very intentional. The universe is going to they're going to hit you back. They're going to get you.
Yep. Yes. And looking back, you connect the dots, they say, right? And
for sure.
We could have a whole podcast on the universe and how it works. I truly believe.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for sure.
The universe brought me my daughter, right? We totally couldn't have kids for 9 years and we manifested her. Yeah. We had to obviously put in some action, right?
Yeah.
We were
pun intended.
Yes, pun intended. So I truly believe that. I believe it's brought me to people like yourself and other brilliant value-adding humans. And because of that, I've been able to really focus on the law of attraction in the universe and use it to our attention, because our mind also doesn't know what's real and what's fake.
Right.
Our mind doesn't understand that. So But the problem is that we keep putting all this fake, false, limited beliefs in our minds, and the universe hears that. They think it's true. Therefore, it gives us that. So if we could say, okay, let's use it to our advantage, it's huge.
And a great book to start people on that is like The Big Leap. That's by Gay Hendricks. That's a great book about limiting beliefs, because I feel like that's something that needs to break down that. And The Four Agreements are two books I always highly recommend, because it teaches about the limiting beliefs, and then The Four Agreements is going to teach you how to basically how people react to you is not on you, it's on them and their what's going on in their life. So that's a book. It's like $7 on Amazon. That's a book I always recommend to people. So those are like, I feel like the gateway books for this kind of stuff, because Andy and I are both like we love like how the universe works, the psychology of people, like how our brain works, how you tap into your consciousness. Like there's so much out there that has very good reasoning to it that you don't realize that you need. Like you can be like awakened to that stuff, And then as you do that, you start manifesting things, the ball starts rolling really, really, really fast, and you become way more conscious of how you think, which is why I feel when people get in that state, they'll notice the negativity, the dramatic people, all the basic bullshit in life starts to start weeding itself out, because you don't even realize how much more conscious and aware you are of what you're putting around you that you want to feed off of. And things start happening, and you think it's a coincidence that all this is happening. But in the reality of it, you have trained yourself to only attract those good things into your life and to do better in life.
Yes. And it starts with you, right? Inside job. It starts with you. And we're about to wrap up here. But before we do, this comes the time of the show where if people haven't been taking notes, they're going to start taking them now, because I want you to give them three actionable tools or strategies or tactics, whatever it might be, 3 things that they can implement as soon as they're off this podcast, and they could be better today than they were yesterday. In any area of life, what are your top 3 things?
Yeah, okay, start reading. Don't read a book that people always want to read and they think that they're just going to read everything. Don't read these like novels. Don't read that. Start reading self-help books and read things that are not pertaining to you right now. And what I mean by that is it's a way for you to get a leg up before you're needed, because a lot of people go into this sense of urgency when something's wrong because they're not taking the time to educate or learn about it early on. Like I, for years, have always read about psychology, business, relationships, like everything like that, even though, my business is good, relationships good, everything's good in my life, but it's like, I like to know because you can always make things better. So start reading books about life and how to live a better life, even though it may not necessarily pertain to you now. If you want to open a business, so you need to start reading about business. You need to start studying people that are doing something that you want to do or need to do, so you feel like you are going to be more well prepared for it. Secondly, that to be better, I would get your diet in check. I know, I'm in the fitness industry and obviously cookbook stuff, but get your diet in check, because the thing is, people don't realize how much your gut is feeding your brain. Our brain isn't our hub of our life. It's our gut. Our gut actually is what relays things to the brain. So if you're eating crap food, you're performing shitty, you're just not in a good space, you need to get your body on its right path. You don't put, bunk gasoline. You don't put, bad gas in your car. You need something that's going to be a good premium quality to get you to where you need to go. Same thing with your body, is you need to get your food in check, because you're going to be able to perform better, because you'll be feeling a lot better. And then third, I would get into a good routine, a morning routine. I love to know what people do in the morning. And that's like I said, I wake up, I don't look at my phone, I look at my planner. I like to have that. If you're someone that likes to work out in the morning, if you like someone that's meditate, find 3 things that you can do every single morning to get a routine going, because then you never feel like you're out of control. Because a lot of people, when they're failing in life, they feel like they're out of control. You need 3 things in your life that you are in control of every single day that you make the choice to do. And for me, that's fitness, that's not looking at my phone, and that's planning my day out. So you need to have those 3 staples in your life.
I love that. 3 progression tips have just been dropped. Thank you so much. And you live by those, and obviously it's shown to work, right? It's shown to work day in and day out. I appreciate you, and I appreciate you jumping on here. But before you go, tell everybody what you have coming up. Tell everybody where they can creep on you, where they can stalk you, and let them know where they can find your cookbooks and everything.
All right. So Instagram is just at Emily Frisella. My podcast is Food and Sessions Nutrition Podcast. My cookbooks are available on my website, fithomeandhealth.com, or Amazon, Barnes & Noble. And you can just follow my Instagram's going to be the best place, because I put everything up there, what's going on. So just go to @Emily Frisella and I got you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Any last parting words, you guys? I mean, this one episode right here can and will change your life if you implement the information. But any last parting words that you want to leave?
No, you know what? I am really excited for everything that you share with your listeners and about them, because it's very important that people need to know that it is about progression. It's about making a difference. And it's not going to happen overnight. And I like the reality that you're bringing to it, where it's a day-by-day thing. It's a step-by-step, because a lot of people, they feel like they're going to be knocked down before they can even get going. But the truth is, we've all messed up and you're going to misstep. But it's important that you just keep pushing, because like you preach, it's getting better every day, and, waking up a little bit better and stronger than you were the day before. So I thank you again for having me as a guest. It's been really fun chatting, and I hope to do it again sometime.
Oh, we definitely will. Make sure you go ahead and give those dogs a kiss for me as well.
Oh, I
will. You guys follow her on Instagram. You'll see, and Andy too. You'll see those dogs are amazing. They're so damn cute.
They're little people. We swear they're like toddlers with fur.
I just want to squeeze their face. Once again, thank you so much. I appreciate it, guys. Please do me a favor. Share this podcast out. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe, share it out. Comment your biggest takeaway. Go follow my girl, Emily. Make sure you buy her cookbooks, not just one, but both of them. She's got a planner coming out in September. Make sure you go buy that as well. And just please do me a favor and just take the information and create some kind of implementation, and just keep creating the ultimate version of you and be better today than you were yesterday. Until next time, guys, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.